Hey, surprise, surprise. Look what happens when you start to declutter. Not only have I started to organize my new scrap space, but I also needed to declutter and organize my digital scrap space on my laptop. And so in the process, I discovered this video that I never posted. So I'm doing what I always do when I start off my layouts, prepping my photographs, but my son was at summer camp in July, and so he sent home postcards. And so I also want to incorporate one of the postcards and a Facebook shot that I took from the camp's Facebook page. And so I am putting that all onto the layout. So this layout is all around the um, first week of July and kind of ends with the 4th of July. And so I printed out this large photograph that may be 8.5 by 11, which I've never printed out before, at least in terms of trying it on a Project Life spread. And so as you see, I am trimming it down a bit to get it into that space. And then once I think I've got a pretty solid fit, I then need to cut it into one large size and then two 3x4s. Or, yeah. So once that's in there, I think that works. And you'll see I went with black and white for that large image. My thought was that because it's so large, I didn't want all the color in the photograph to overwhelm the layout. And so by muting the colors and going with black and white, my hope was that that would work well with this particular spread. So now I'm going to do a little bit of playing. I want to incorporate some of my stamps into the layout. Not really sure where I'm going. Okay, so one of my favorite stamps from the Studio Calico kits, and I have tons of stamps from them. Most of them I rarely use, but one of the ones that I have used quite often is the word that says documented. And so I pulled that one out, and I'm going to stamp directly onto the postcard, or actually, it looks like I'm going to stamp onto one of the labels. That's a Martha Stewart label. And then I layer up some other labels, and then I stamp directly onto the label. Woohoo! One shot, I got it. You know, that's always a tricky thing. So I'm going to add a few little letter stickers. I think it probably says Camp Documented. And something seems to be missing with that. And so I'm going to fiddle around a bit trying to decide what do I want to add, what do I want to add. In the end, I put the stamps back. I feel like I'm done. Oh, I find another stamp. I don't even remember what that one says. But I didn't like it. Whatever it was, I didn't like it. So I get a small piece of washi tape. And it looks like I'm using two. And so one of them I want to be a thin strip, another little thin strip, and it's red. And the logic behind that was that if the color palette is going to be red, white, and blue, I wanted to have touches of red and blue kind of scattered throughout the layout. So by adding just that little strip of washi tape, that helps me to incorporate the desired color palette. And then a few little wooden stars, and I think I'm done with that postcard. So next up, since I have my little splat mat out, are the gelatos. So I had a few black and white and some white and gray Studio Calico kit cards. However, I did not have any of the kind of red, white, and blue cards that I thought would work well. So that's where creativity comes in, my friends. And I pull out the gelatos and decide to kind of create my own cards. So first up are red stars. And this is so random. I don't have a plan in mind. I just quickly paint or draw some red stars. And then I use a little bit of the white acrylic paint. And I may have mentioned this before, but I do find that by adding just a touch, a dot of the acrylic paint, it helps to really set the gelatos and prevent any smudging. I also tend to appreciate the kind of muted, I don't know, touch that adding the acrylic adds. And so you'll see I kind of play with balancing the gelatos and just a touch of the acrylic paint on the red stars. So there is no kind of methodology here. I'm just kind of going with the flow. So next up, blue stars. Why not? And so I've got two different blues out, and so I'm going to kind of layer up those colors. And then I slightly changed my mind. So rather than having the large reds, the large stars like the red, I decided I'm going to have these smaller blue stars, and then I want it to be two-toned. And so I start with the water, and then again I go back to my white acrylic paint. And in this particular scenario, what I'm doing is using the white acrylic paint and painting around the stars. Now, I did not have to do this because, well, duh, Wendy, the card is white, and so I could have just left it. But what I really liked is that by kind of smushing a little bit of blue around along with the white paint, it really gives kind of a nice touch. You could call it kind of artsy, I suppose, to the card. And so that's what I'm doing, kind of moving and painting around the blue stars, but allowing just bits of blue, kind of a lighter blue, to also flow into the white. Okay, feeling like I can live with that. And then I'm not done yet. But this particular plane, I know I don't end up keeping it, and so I believe I cut the rest out. Yep, I did. Okay, so next up, to begin to place some embellishments and letters over the photographs and onto the cards. And so my little guy this summer was absolutely freaking addicted to the Rick Riordan Percy Jackson series. So once he started, he could not put those books down. He finished them up, I want to say, right around November, and he read all of the first series, and there's like a second Greek mythology series, and then there's a third Egyptian series. He read them all, absolutely adored each and every one. So I wanted to capture that. And in this particular photo, I think he fell asleep reading, and he just looked so stinking cute. And so I just also wanted to have that memory of how cute he looked on the couch sleeping. So now the trick for me, pulling out a few of the white cards, 4x6 cards, trying to figure out what I'm going to do. And what I decide is that rather than use the red card whole, the red star card whole, I decide to cut the red stars out. I do like the blue star card, and so I'm thinking that I want to layer the red stars on top of the blue stars. So playing with that just a bit, seeing how that is working for me. And so since I like that, I'm going to go ahead and place the dates onto the title card. You can never have enough, at least I can never have enough of the black letters, black and white letters. Love them, love them. Okay, I'm feeling pretty good about that. And I'm almost there. Okay. Making progress here. My laptop is so full, it keeps shutting down, so it is giving me a hard time this morning trying to finish this little voiceover up. But I will persist. So this 4x6 card was just too busy and it was distracting to me. And so what I decided the best thing to do would be to cut it down. And so I've now trimmed it down and I like it much better as a 3x4 rather than a 4x6 card. The other thing that I wanted to do is to change up the photograph of my son sleeping with his book. The read mythology was too much, and so now by just using the label and the white thickers that say read, I feel that it works much better. So we're going somewhere now. So now I have two black and white cards from Studio Calico. I'm not sure which months, cannot remember. But I feel like I've got some balance going on now. I've got the black and white on the left with the happiness card, and on the right, the bright side. Now, I'm not done with my gelatos. I feel like I need to create a little bit more red, white, and blue on the right side to balance with the star 3x4 card that I created earlier in this process. And so I'm gonna go with just a big blue smushy circle. I freaking love that. I love it. One of my favorite. Um, and so I like that. And then I decide that I'm going to do a red one, but just at the bottom of a white card. Again, using gelatos and a little bit of white acrylic paint. Okay. But I still need space to journal because I have a lot to journal this week. And so by creating the two circles and then leaving all of the white space around them, I now have two cards that work with my color palette, but I also have journaling cards and ample space to tell my story. So pulling out the typewriter. For those of you that like doing or using your printer and your computer, that can work as well. Um, or handwriting. My handwriting is a little bit wonky. Sometimes I use it, but not that often. I really love using, as my sons would say, that old school typewriter. And so there we go. And I have to say, I've never really tried this before, but I love how imperfect these two cards turned out. And on one of them, in fact, there was a typo, and I just did a strike through line and went with it, just kept it. That's the risk of sometimes using a typewriter. You can't go back and delete, delete, delete. So again, I'm attempting to kind of type around the gelato circle, in this case, the red circle. There we go. So I can't remember at this moment what I typed at the top of that red circle card, but whatever it was, I didn't like, or maybe the error, I couldn't really fix it or get around it. And so now what I'm attempting to do is to place some letters, stickers, words over it to make it look like I meant to do that all along. At the same time, I have some of these Just Jamie little printable flares. And so, am I doing that yet? Okay, so first I'm trying to see if I'm going to put a label up there. And then I am adhering one of the Just Jamie flares to the bottom of the red circle, which I loved. I didn't know I was going to do that, but it worked out so perfectly. Okay, and so now I've got the label up there. I think it's a black and white label, and I'm using some of my Tim Holtz little plastic letters. I'm sure he has some other swanky name for them. I'm just gonna call them my Tim Holtz plastic letters. Um, Putting celebrate right there, or what am I putting? Celebration. Okay. And we're good. Good, 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 good. And then the blue card. The blue card is my absolute favorite. I didn't know what I was gonna do, and then it just turned out awesome. And so I also put a little Just Jamie flair in the middle of that card, or that blue circle as well. So the last thing for me to kind of finish up is the large image of my husband and I. And so what I decided to do is I used the typewriter to create some journaling there, almost a little love note to him, in fact. And then I cut it out in strips. I didn't want to have like a huge just chunk of white card. So by cutting it out in strips, for me it seemed just to kind of fit better with the photograph. And I think I'm almost done. Looks like I'm moving a few things around. I want to kind of make sure that the three cards with the gelatos are working with each other, kind of creating balance on both sides. So I'm moving a few of the cards around. Now I have the date card, which is the red and the blue stars, but now I need to go back and work on my title card since they're two separate entities. So if you've watched my other videos, you've seen that I like to use my old school Cricut and hook it up to my laptop and create these little cutouts of words and phrases. And I just kind of do random words and phrases that I think would kind of generally work on almost any spread. And so I'm kind of just hunting through my little collection here to see what will work. And you'll never believe this, but so when we packed everything up, I don't know what box the Cricut was placed into. I can't find it right now, which is really causing me stress. But anyway, I digress. I like the little today Cricut cutout, so I'm going to use that. And then I've got this little thin heart, wood heart, and I love that as well. Just adds a little bit of dimension and texture to the title card. And we're done, my friends. Thanks for hanging in with me. This was a little bit different because I'm trying to remember what I did way back in July, and it's February now. But it was fun to take a second look at this layout, and I hope you learned something new and enjoy watching my scrapbooking process. So until next time, see you later, and hugs, hugs, and more hugs.